anytime tourists visit a new place, they are bound to have problems, including the Black Hills.
We're Matt and Cheryl, and we write travel guides for places in the West. We've helped thousands of people travel to places like the Black Hills, and we have visited here several times. So today we want to share with you the biggest mistakes that people make when they visit the Black Hills of South Dakota.
All right, so the first one is thinking that Mount Rushmore is the only monument here in the Black Hills. There's actually another bigger one, which is Crazy Horse. Now, just to put this in perspective, the president's faces are 60 feet tall. The face of Crazy Horse alone is 80 feet tall. So he's a big dude. And the goal of Crazy Horse is to be bigger than any other carving in the world. It is huge. It started in the 1940s and they're still working on it. And I have to say, there's not a whole lot done on it yet. It's mostly a face, but they are working on it and they're probably going to be continuing to work on that for years to come. One little tip I wanted to give you for visiting Crazy Horse, don't just pay to go in, but also pay for the bus tour that gets you closer to it. Because if you don't pay for that bus tour, the view you're getting of Crazy Horse is very similar to the one you'll get from the road.
Okay, now Crazy Horse, by the way, is a Lakota warrior, or was a Lakota warrior. And so after Mount Rushmore was created, the Lakota chief here wanted to honor one of their heroes. So he hired a guy. His name's Korchuk Chilkowski, like crazy Polish name that's really hard to pronounce. And they've been working on it for like 80 years. So, okay, the next mistake is forgetting your carrots or apples. So did you know there is something here called the Wildlife Loop? The Black Hills are an awesome place to see wildlife. And the Custer State Park has a road called the Wildlife Loop. And as you drive through this road, you're going to see prairie dogs, you're going to see bison, and the favorite thing here is to see the wild donkeys. They'll come right up to your car and beg for food. The begging burros, they're called.
And they're so cute. We've seen baby begging burros, but we've also seen some tourists getting a little too ambitious with the donkeys. And we even once saw, I have to say, this kid was very obnoxious. A 10-year-old get bit by a burro. But granted, I didn't see anyone that was acting normally get bit, but we have seen a tourist get bit by a burro. So bring your carrots, bring your apples, and then just be nice to the burros.
Next up is driving an RV on the Needles Highway. Okay, so here in the Black Hills, there are several incredible scenic drives, and some of them, or actually several of them, have tunnels that you go through, these rock tunnels, and they're pretty narrow.
In fact, so narrow that it's like 8.5 feet wide. And there's even a video on YouTube of someone trying to pull their trailer through and the trailer's scraping the sides. I mean, I am surprised that something hasn't got lodged in there. It is so narrow. So if you're driving an RV, you want to make sure you know the width and then make sure you also have the ability to keep that thing steady.
You can find those widths and heights online on their website. We include them in our travel guide for the Black Hills as well. But yeah, you need to be prepared so you don't get stuck in inside of a tunnel.
One last little bonus tip is that these roads, like the Needles, the Iron Mountain Road, the Pigtails, they are windy and curvy. So if you get motion sick, make sure to take your Dramamine. And if you're up for a real fun adventure, ride like a motorcycle or a slingshot through there. We did a slingshot. It was so fun.
Yeah, you can rent a slingshot in town. Those are amazing.
The next is missing the evening lighting ceremony at Mount Rushmore. Every night they do a very special presentation where they light up the mountain, they take the flag down, and they do a tribute to the presidents that are on there. It is so patriotic. And, you know, on this trip, we actually chose not to go to it because we've been to it several times. And I'm telling you, you don't get the full experience unless you do that.
One thing I found out on those ranger programs, each ranger gets to make their own talk for that evening ceremony, which is cool. So every time you visit, that could be a different speech or talk by the ranger. And they're always so good and so polished. And then one thing they do during the show, they call all the veterans and military, active military, down to the stage and honor them there in front of everybody. And it's always packed, by the way. The amphitheater is always packed full of people, and they honor them. So one thing that was kind of special for us last time we came here, my dad was with us, and so they called all the veterans down, and he actually didn't want to go down there. And I said, "Hey, Dad, what's the deal? You know, get down there." And so he went down there and was recognized with all of them. So that was kind of special.
The next one is visiting Mount Rushmore and thinking you've properly done the Black Hills. That is a huge mistake. There is so much more to do here than just that awesome mountain with the president's faces on it.
Yeah, now a lot of people think it's just kind of a drive-through place. The Black Hills is actually a destination in its own. It's huge. It's bigger than Yellowstone. And there is so much to do in the area. There's so much scenery. I mean, look at this lake. We're just standing here at a random lake in the Black Hills, and it's so pretty. So you can do a deep dive on the Black Hills for sure. And we're going to go into a few more things in this video that you can
Yeah, we usually spend 5 or 6 days here when we come because there are so many cool things to do. Next is missing out on the family fun. There are so many things to do with your family. Some cost money, some are free or really cheap. And one that costs money that we've had a great time at is Reptile Gardens. It's the world's biggest reptile zoo. And they've got tortoises and lizards and snakes. They used to have crocodiles. I don't think they have those anymore, but they have a lot of cool animals and fun shows to watch.
We did another thing in Rapid City, one of the first times we came here with our little kids, called Storybook Island. It's just a free like city park or something like that, that has tons of like fairy tale stories and like things for the kids to play on, slides, trains.
Yep, and then the next is Rush Mountain. This is an amusement park on the side of a hill. There's a cave up there, so you get your cave experience, but what we really love about it is the mountain coaster. You know, normally when you go on a mountain coaster, it can be 20 bucks a pop, but when you go to a place like this, you can probably pay to just do one, but we usually get like a day pass, and then we can go on it as many times as we want. They have a fun ropes course. Our kids love Rush Mountain.
So one of the reasons this is such a great deep dive place is there's so many things you can do to keep the kids interested. Water parks, bear parks, things like that. Now here's two more that we haven't done, but we're hoping to do sometime soon. So they have a bison hunt zipline coaster type of a thing. So you you hop in this zipline thing and ride around, and while you're riding around, you're shooting the buffalo.
The last one, they're building another theme park, Liberty Land. It is so patriotic here, so we're excited to see what that turns into.
Liberty Land. Oh, that is perfect for the Black Hills.
Uh-huh.
The next mistake that people make is complaining about Mount Rushmore. We've talked to several people who visited and used our guides and videos and things like that to help them visit. Some people really love it and they're just so grateful, and it's a really patriotic thing. Every once in a while we hear from people say it wasn't as big as they thought it would, that it was going to be, or that it was a little underwhelming.
Yeah, and we say Mount Rushmore's cool.
It's really cool.
Just get behind it and like Mount Rushmore. And the other thing I think you ought to know when you come out here is this is not the place to like not be patriotic.
Yeah.
I mean, people are here for the patriotism. They're excited. They love America.
One thing in defense of the faces, so they are 60 feet tall, which I think is just amazing. I saw this photo today of one of the guys who was carving Mount Rushmore. He was about as tall as one of the eyeballs. So to me, that's pretty amazing. Now you stand a little bit back from it, and it's pretty high. It's like 400 feet high or something like that. And so it's up there on the mountain. And so some people have a hard time kind of grasping the size. It would have been so easy to just be a little off on those carvings, and then they would have looked cartoonish or weird. And they are just so incredible.
Oh yeah.
How good they are.
They tried to recreate Mount Rushmore at the mini golf course by our house, and they all look cross-eyed. Like,
yeah, that's true.
Like,
yeah.
I'm like, wow, these presidents, this is like the real thing. They have like the look of determination in their eyes. It's way cool. Okay,
Cool.
The next mistake is missing the adult things there are to do in the Black Hills. The town of Deadwood is all about adult fun. Legalized gambling, I mean, casinos, I mean, yeah, so
casinos that have fancy places to eat. Yeah, Deadwood has stuff for the families too, because you walk up and down Main Street, and then they have these shootouts in the middle of town that happen like 3 or 4 times a day. They do a show at night for the capture of Jack McCall, the guy that shot Wild Bill. So they do have plenty of entertainment for the kids.
Our next mistake people make is not visiting some of these smaller national park sites.
There are 6 national park sites in the Black Hills. One of the lesser known ones is the Minuteman Missile site. So this preserves Cold War history. During the Cold War, we had a bunch of missiles in the Great Plains underneath the ground, ready to fire at the Soviet Union. Now a lot of them are gone, but they preserved the silos, a couple of the silos in the Minuteman Missile National Historic Site. And you can do tours. We're going to do a tour in a few days, so maybe we'll put some footage of that here on the video for you. We're really excited to do that.
Yes, and there's 2 caves. There's the Wind Caves and the Jewel Caves. And we've been in the Wind Caves before. They're awesome. They have this cool stuff called boxwork in it that's really unique to caves. And just in case you're a little claustrophobic, Wind Caves is not too bad. It's a more wide open cavern in there. And then Jewel Cave, we have not been in yet, but we're going tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
So we're excited.
By the way, Wind Cave is like the 7th largest cave in the world or something, and Jewel Cave I think is even bigger. It's even bigger than that. They have not found the end of these caves yet. They have like camps in the caves, and they're still trying to explore and find the end. So, okay, the next mistake that people make is visiting at the wrong time of the year. So let's talk about seasonality here. It starts opening up Mother's Day to Memorial Day, that time period there in mid to late May.
So summer is the big tourist season, mostly Memorial Day through September. One year we visited and it was over 100 degrees. We were shocked because we're used to these mountain temperatures being a little cooler, but it was very hot.
Now, one thing to be aware of is Sturgis happens in August. If you don't know what Sturgis is, this is where all the bikers gather to the town of Sturgis, South Dakota. And I looked it up today. There are over 500,000 bikers that come to Sturgis in August. So you probably want to try to avoid that weekend because all those bikers are cruising through the Black Hills, checking out all the sites and things like that. We have visited in the fall, and fall can be just incredible. Like the colors start to change and the temperature is amazing. The daytime temperatures are just awesome. So September and October can be really good, but just know that a lot of the businesses are going to be closed. A lot of those fun touristy things. So if that's not your jam at all and you want to come and just see the nature, that's a pretty good time to visit. By the way, right now we're here at Memorial Day. And oh man, the weather is just...
It's perfect. And I don't think the crowds really have come upon the Black Hills yet. We've been talking to a lot of the tourism people. They say middle of June is when things really pick up. So we're enjoying this little lull. It's been wonderful.
It's been great.
But there is a couple special events. They do the Buffalo Roundup here in Custer because there's bison here. And then they also do the Volks March where you can go up to the top of Crazy Horse, like not just see it from down, but above. And I'm looking at my notes. September is the magic month to go do those things.
Okay, the next mistake is not stopping at Wall Drug for the free water. Okay, so Wall is a town that's just outside of the Black Hills, out kind of on the plains. And Wall Drug is a store in the town that was once a drugstore that lured in like travelers coming across the plains by offering them free water.
And the water is nothing to write home about. But what's fun about it, my favorite thing, the backyard. They have these fun photo ops, like little statues you can get pictures by. The whole place is like tacky and kitschy, and they're proud of it. Like they're having fun with it, and it is fun. I remember the first time we went there, Matt took a risk taking my family there because that's not normally our jam. No. But we all loved it. And then he bought us all these crazy tacky gifts from there. And that made it even more fun. He was presenting the weird awards.
This may or may not be for you, but we think it's worth a stop to see this crazy roadside tourist attraction. By the way, they also offer 5-cent coffee for you there at Wall Drug. The next mistake is not combining the Black Hills with a trip to Yellowstone. We mentioned this earlier that a lot of people do this. They actually are kind of connected, believe it or not, historically. So back in the old days when they had highways and not interstate freeways, they built a highway trail called the Yellowstone Trail that went north and it connected into Yellowstone through Montana. The Black Hills were like, hey, we want in on this action. So they were trying to lure tourists. That's actually why they built Mount Rushmore, is to get tourists from the Yellowstone Trail to come down through the Black Hills. So they made a road essentially called the Black and Yellow Trail. It's like, hey, just come down and see Mount Rushmore on your way out to Yellowstone. And believe it or not, when you come from Mount Rushmore, you're going to discover that this area is awesome. It's really great. So it is definitely a really good road trip.
4 hours north is Teddy Roosevelt National Park. This place only gets 500,000 visitors a year, probably because it's so remote. I think when we drove there, we went for a whole hour without even seeing another car. Yeah. And it's such a cool park. They have wild horses, longhorn cattle, and it's all about Teddy Roosevelt. And I mean, and then the little town of Medora, they do a wonderful musical outside. It's really super fun.
Yeah, we've seen people have told us they've done Theodore Roosevelt National Park, Glacier, dropped down to Yellowstone, Grand Teton, out to the Black Hills on their way home. That's an amazing road trip. Big one, but really, really cool.
Want to know more about the Black Hills? Watch our Black Hills trip planner. It has all the things to do, plus all the other things you need to know to have a great trip to the Black Hills. See you in the next video.